In many communities, engagement is usually reduced into few visible actions, such as people posting and commenting in the community platforms, people joining the live calls, people attending events, and people being active in live spaces. And while these are valid indicators of engagement, they're not the only ways that you can know if your community is engaged or not. Members in your community are going through different stages in life. Some of them are busy, and so they may not be actively checking the community, but they still value the community and check in once in a while. Sometimes also different members want to participate in different ways. They may not be actively posting, but they're always checking the community and reading the posts and gaining value from it. I remember when I was starting my new community, I brought in some people, and after a while there wasn't a lot of active posting and commenting within the community, and I decided to put a checkbox as part of the application that people had to check to say that once they join the community, they promise to be actively engaged within the community. Looking back, I think I had a very narrow definition of what engagement looked like, and in this video I'm going to talk about it so that if you're a community builder, you can widen your definition of engagement and design for different forms of participation. Hi, I am Jolene, and in this video we're going to talk about the different forms of participation and how to design for them so that you have inclusive engagement options for your members. So the first type of participation that I want to talk about is participation by observing. I do this a lot when I join a new membership. I'm not going to join and start talking a lot. I'm first going to observe the community, observe how people are interacting with each other, and observe how everything is working within this community. This looks like people checking out the posts, the comments, the resources in the community, but they never post or react to anything. They just check what's happening in the community. In digital habitats, this is called legitimate peripheral participation. So people are not inside participating, but they're watching from outside, and they're still gaining value from this. What is really happening at this stage is that people are feeling the vibe of the community, they're building context, they're establishing safety within the community, and also their trust is building. And here's how you can design for this type of participation to create an environment where they will feel comfortable observing before they get fully involved and actively participate. So first, of course, you need to have a start here section in your community so that when new members come in, they know where to start. You can also add clear summaries and descriptions for your community programming so that the members know what this program is about and what it involves. And after the program, they can also just check out the summaries if they did not want to attend the program while it was happening. Another way to design for observers is to have replays for your live events. This is actually very important if you have a global audience who cannot make it at certain times. And even if your audience is within the same region and time zone, they might just be busy because life, they might have children, they might have sick family members, they may just have a lot going on. So having live replays will help the observers come in and join the event whenever it is convenient for them. Another way to design for observers is to have a clear navigation. Remember, the people in this group are checking out the community, so you need to have a clear navigation with well-labeled sections so that they can easily observe and explore the community quietly on their own. And lastly, but most importantly, tell your new members to take the time to explore, and whenever they are ready, they can make an intro or post or share what's going on in their mind. You don't want to pressure people to start posting in your community if what they feel comfortable doing is just observing. So you might have the question, when should you intervene in such a situation when you have a new member and they've not talked at all? My suggestion is that You can reach out after the first week and check in with them. Just ask them how you're doing, how you're finding the community, and is there any way that I can support you? Also, you don't want to put pressure on them to feel like they are failing by not participating in the community. So just let them know that you're checking in on them and that all forms of participations are welcome. They can jump in whenever they want, but there's no pressure at all for them to be actively and visibly participating. The second form of participation that I'm going to talk about is participation by reacting. This usually happens when people are a little bit familiar with the community, or sometimes they're just in a hurry and they're checking the community quickly on the phone while they're in transit or they're in the bathroom, no judgment. For this type of participation, members are responding to what is happening in the community without actively initiating anything. This could be like reacting to posts in the community by liking them or using emojis. It could also be voting when there's a poll and they have to choose one thing, they're choosing it. They could also be clicking the links that are shared and checking them out. What is really happening in this stage is that members are showing that they're there. They're acknowledging the posts in the community by liking or putting an emoji in there. And they also want to participate with minimum cognitive load. Remember, a lot of your members have a lot going on in their lives. So sometimes the best they can do at that time is just to give a thumbs up. And often in this stage, the members feel safe enough to be seen lightly engaging in the community. So how do you design for people who are comfortable participating by reacting? One, you can use polls as part of your engagement prompts. Instead of requiring someone to write something out, you just have polls and they can come in and choose what works for them. You can also use community platforms that allow emoji reaction or giving thumbs up. That way, if someone checks something and they like it, they can just give a thumbs up and move on. In this stage, you can also share resources because people who are participating by reacting will be seeing them. So having resources put out there that they can easily access will also be useful for people who are participating by reacting. When I had my community, this was the most common type of participation from the members that I had. Whenever I put up polls or asked people to react using emojis, I got a lot of people participating. And so if you're struggling with engagement, you can try this out because they're simple and they're easy for your members to come in and participate. Now, this third type of participation is one that we may not see out there, but is actually one of the most transformative type of participation. Participation by reflecting and implementing. This is where your members are actually learning things from your community and then implementing those things in their lives. This is especially important in communities where there's some form of learning involved. So for example, if your community helps people build websites, then some members will just be watching the workshops and implementing what you're teaching them. And by the end, they'll be able to build a website by themselves. What does it look like when your members are participating by reflecting and implementing? So of course, the first one is they're reflecting on what they're learning. This could be by journaling or by sharing what they're learning on their blogs or on socials. Second, they're implementing what they're learning in the community. Third, this could look like them saving resources that you're providing them. And lastly, this could also look like members visiting content multiple times. What's happening here is that the members are extracting value from the resources that you have provided and processing all the information and resources and implementing them. So there is behavior change from how they were before they had access to these resources or learnings and how they are after they've implemented these learnings. How to design for this form of participation is to create reflection prompts for your members, create workbooks and exercises that your members can do, share practical ways that members can apply all the things that you're teaching in your community, and even creating accountability groups where different members within your community can actually work together and support each other to reach their goals. Something small that you can add to this is ask your new members to share how the implementation went. This will actually be very useful, not just for them, but also for other members within your community. You can ask them privately by sharing feedback surveys individually, or you can tell them to post within the community if they're comfortable. This could also be great testimonials for you because you'll be able to show people who are considering your membership what happens within your membership when people implement the learnings that they're gaining within your membership. And now we'll talk about the most common form of participation that a lot of people do. This is conversational participation. This is when members talk to each other within the community and also with you, the community builder. This might come naturally from the start for some members, especially the more extroverted ones, and then for others it will come later on once they feel comfortable being in the membership. What this looks like is members commenting on posts, members replying to each other, members asking questions and participating in discussions that are happening within the community. What is happening in this form of participation is that members feel safe connecting with other members in the community, and they value reaching out and being visible within the community. Peer-to-peer learning is also happening at this stage, and so you as the community builder does not have to be the one constantly replying to everyone because other members are chiming in and sharing with each other. How to design for conversational participation is first you need to have a community guideline on what's acceptable and what's not within the community. If you want it to be respectful and helpful, make sure you say that in the community guidelines so that when people talk to each other, it feels supportive and helpful. You also want to be sharing discussion prompts because at this stage, people want to talk and want to discuss and want to share. So having discussion prompts that bring people to share what they're thinking will actually help them participate more. At this stage, you also want to have some form of moderation because sometimes what happens is that you'll have some dominant voices that will be constantly replying, and you want to create space for all the voices that want to participate in different discussions. Another thing you can do is to create networking events with breakout rooms or co-working events so that the members who want to talk to each other will find each other during such events. The final form of participation that I want to talk about is participation by contribution. This is where members actively shape the community by contributing to programming, events, and general discussions within the community. This looks like members starting discussions in your community, so you as the community builder does not have to start the discussions because your members are doing it themselves. Members will also be leading sessions within this community. If they have something valuable, they may want member-led events, which you can create within your community so that members share with each other. Here you can also see members actively sharing resources with other members in the community. And your members will also be mentoring and giving each other feedback within the community. What is happening here is that the members feel a strong sense of ownership and they want the community to succeed. That's why they're going above and beyond to contribute within the community. The members who participate by contribution also feel like their identity is tied with the community. And this also shows that they want to be in the community long term, which is a very good thing. And I know a lot of community members want their members to always participate this way and feel a strong sense of ownership and identity within the community. So here's how you can design for contribution within your community. First, you can create a clear way for contributing within the community. For example, you can create once every month you'll have a member-led event, or once every week depending on how you like it, and you can have a criteria for what types of member events are actually allowed within the community, and then you can share it with your members and let them apply if they're interested. And so you will have a pipeline of members who want to lead sessions within your community. Another way for this is if you see active members in your community, you can invite them to take more leadership and moderation role within the community. Remember, don't put pressure on them to do it. You can just tell them that, hey, I've seen that you're really active and I want to invite you, if you're interested, to support in moderating or support in a certain role that you think they will excel in. Another way to design for this is by appreciating members when they contribute and share useful resources. This will show other members that this is something that you want people to keep doing, and so you'll have more members actually contributing and sharing resources and supporting each other. Remember, while this is a very great place to be in your membership where people are actively contributing, some members don't want that. They just want to be observing or reacting, and that's okay. That's why I've given all the forms of participation so that you can design for how members feel comfortable participating. And sometimes this can vary depending on what's going on within a member's life. They could start by being very active and contributing, and then they might just have a busy season where all they can do is react. And then at some point they may just be observing, and then they come back and start talking to other members in the community. So this is not a linear stage where people move from observing to reacting to conversations to contributing. This is actually something that people will move around different forms of participation at different times. Based on what I've shared about the different forms of participation, you can see how it's easy to have a narrow view of participation when there are very different forms of participation available. And I want you to think about this question. If a member stays in your community and never visibly participates, but they're implementing what they're learning and they're getting results, were they engaged or not? And I don't know about you, but for me, when I join a community and I don't feel forced to participate, that's when I actually feel more comfortable participating. So as community builders, let us build communities that feel welcoming, supportive, and inclusive of the different forms of participations that exist. Engagement is just a small part of the member journey framework, which is a tool that I use with my clients to help them look at their membership from the member's point of view. You can get the free member journey framework in the description below, or check out jolinopula.com/journey to see how your members experience your membership and what you can do to make it even better.